I'm the squeeze. No, I'm not. You're the squeeze.
I'm Squeeze. That's the
I'm
shrimp.
shrimp. There we go.
And today we're going to be talking to you about the 5 things you should do in order before you buy your first motorcycle.
Yes.
Now, buying your first motorcycle can be a daunting task. In particular, it can be rather challenging if you've never ridden before and you don't know anybody who rides.
Yeah.
So we are here to be your friends who ride motorcycles to help you on this arduous journey.
It's not that arduous. But good things to take care of first.
It can be a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, it
Right?
definitely can. Get a helmet though.
Yeah, find a store, preferably that's not online, that sells motorcycle helmets. And I'm gonna go ahead and steer you away from the Harley Davidson dealership. I'm not telling you not to buy a Harley Davidson. I'm not telling you to go in there, but their helmets are fucking garbage.
They are. And 100% you have to go into a store.
Yeah.
Helmets are not like I'm small in stature, I should get a small shirt. There are different head sizes and if
Different head shapes as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you get, a small on an Icon, it can technically be the right size to fit on your head, but within 20 minutes of having that bucket on your head, you're going to feel like someone's stabbing you in the back with a ice pick just because it's a little bit more elongated or oval than it is perfectly round.
Yeah, and a little bit about helmets. We'll probably like safety ratings or a separate video. I'll just kind of touch them a little bit. Your helmet legally in this country has to be DOT approved.
This country being in America.
Yeah.
USA.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell from our accents.
We're good.
The DOT safety rating pretty much means this. It's outdated, it's fucking garbage,
and
it doesn't really guarantee you much of anything other than it's not made out of like cheap.
Yeah, and it's not
terrible.
Policed.
Yeah.
It's not enforced.
It's
well.
literally voluntary.
So if you can get the Schnell or ECE.
Yeah, Snell being the better of the two. The ECE is the European Union equivalent. They both have like different kind of parameters that they test for.
That is also just for right now. There are some new parameters.
Like what is it, Sharp or Shark?
Yeah, that's coming out, and they're trying to increase the safety that you get at a helmet and a guarantee that the sticker that is on that helmet means it is this good.
Yeah. And for the United States, like the one bad thing about ECE ratings is they're not really rated for higher speed crashes.
Yeah, I think they go up to 50.
Yeah, because in Europe, there's motorcycling under like 60, 70 is more common than not. So the Schnell rating, if you're a guy who's in the United States, you're hitting a lot of highways, you're hitting 80 miles an hour, you might want to go with a Schnell helmet. Those are rated for the racetrack. They literally have to be really.
But you'll notice if you're looking at helmets, all of those are going to be full face or modular. And if not, it's definitely does EC
ECE does 3/4.
Does 3/4.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a half helm on any of those because that is just a brain bucket. So they can get you to the hospital and get your organs out to give to someone who's going to use them because you're not anymore.
Yeah, we don't recommend you ride with a half helmet. We do not ride with half helmets. We both ride with full face helmets
every time.
Yeah, because the ground is scratchy and hard, and it's even scratchier when you're sliding on it at 60 miles an hour.
Too purty.
Yeah, I mean I can't risk this fucking thing. So buy yourself a helmet. Buy yourself a quality helmet. Spend money on it.
Only caveat on this: if you have someone who's helping you, you can borrow a helmet for a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't borrow a helmet and be like, okay, this is my helmet for a long amount of time. A day or 3 for taking a course, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if you're going to actually use a helmet full time, make sure it's your helmet, because if you are borrowing a helmet, that already has kind of morphed to whatever the last person who wore its head was.
A little bit too on fitment and why it's helpful to go into a store. So for instance, with Shoei's round oval head shape, which is what I am, a large is too tight and an extra large is a little bit too roomy. So I wear an extra large with one of the optional one of the liners being a little bit thicker, so you can kind of customize in store some of the better helmets and get a fit if you're in between a size, like I am. So that's really helpful going into the store. And the other thing is, don't buy a used helmet.
Never buy a used helmet.
Yeah, because you just don't know. You don't know the history of it. You don't know how many times it's been dropped. You don't know how they cared for it. You don't know if they left it in the sun, which degrades the materials. And they have a shelf life.
They do. You're looking 2-3 years max on a helmet still being worth the safety that it says it was.
Even if it's brand new and never been out of the box.
Correct. The styrofoam that is the thing that actually protects your skull just degrades.
Yeah.
So there's a time limit on them. But that does take us to if you are borrowing a helmet just for the course, thing number 2.
Oh, hold on. Before thing number 2. Number 1 is buy a helmet. That is actually our minimum number 1.
Yeah.
/ gear. Yeah. Right? We would prefer that you buy head to toe gear as the first step. Helmet, jacket, pants, boots, gloves.
This goes into a little bit on you can delay some of the buying it until you kind of know what you're going to want to do.
You can. The real, but the gold one, the gold option is to just buy all the gear.
The other thing is you have to at least have minimal gear. So you have to have shoes that go over your ankles. You have to have good long pants.
You have to have some kind of gloves.
And I mean just good leather gloves will work.
And some kind of long sleeves.
Yeah.
That's to do number 2.
Yes.
Which is
take the course.
Take the MSF course.
That's for America. The MSF is the Motorcycle Safety Foundations. And it does a really good job of keeping you safe while teaching you all the things you didn't know you didn't know. I'm sure most other countries have something close to it. If not, there may be actual businesses that do a lot of that.
When I took the course, there were a couple of guys who their only experience on motorcycles was dirt bikes, and they found out that riding on the street is not at all like riding a dirt bike.
It's very different, especially what you use your front brake for.
Yeah.
Which is stopping.
Yeah. So it's super helpful to take the course. If anything, it's going to lower your insurance, and you don't have to take a trip to the DMV in this country. So I recommend you do it at least out of convenience, and I'm willing to bet you'll learn a couple of things that could help you stay out of a bad situation.
The other really nice thing, depending on where your course is actually being held, is you may get a chance to actually ride a couple different types of bikes during that course. So if you my first class, they had I think a couple little Rebels. They had 2 dual sports, and a couple naked bikes. So depending on kind of what you wanted to do, you could ask and see if you could switch bikes on the second day of the course, and actually kind of get a feel on what you wanted to buy as a bike with some riding experience and someone who is going to help you learn how to ride better, helping you along with that.
Yeah.
Which brings us into our third things. When you're going to buy a bike,
sit on a lot of bikes.
A lot of bikes.
Not a few bikes, a lot of bikes. Every manufacturer, even if you're buying a second bike, sit on a lot of bikes.
And even if you're, I know I'm not going to buy a Harley. I don't like the looks of Harleys.
Go sit on it.
Go sit on one. You might be surprised, but also getting a knowledge base for what is around your town. I don't own a Harley. I've never owned a Harley. I've done quite a few things with different Harley clubs because they have a good population of people who are knowledgeable, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And none of them were
And
dicks.
you might, if you're a first-time rider too, you might have an idea that all Harleys are big baggers, and you might come to find out that you really like a Sportster, or whatever. I'm not trying to sell you on Harley. Just try everything out.
Also, more importantly, when we do get into, I don't have the budget for a new bike, even even an inexpensive new bike, I'm looking used. Sit on a bunch of them.
Yeah, and sometimes, like when you go to the different dealerships, Harley might have a used Beamer that's in your budget that you really love. KTM might have a used Honda. You never know what people are trading in.
Yeah.
So it's you might find a really good deal on a brand that's not the place that you go to as well.
If you are buying off Craigslist, though, this is where it's really important to.
I recommend you don't.
I did.
I get it, but I recommend you.
It was way less expensive, but I had some people I could tap as, hey, can you come help me look at this bike? I want to make sure that it's not just kicking the tires. We're good.
If you have to, you can go Craigslist. I mean the issue that I have, especially with first time riders, if you have an issue with a bike, you don't have a place to go back to and be like, hey, this thing.
You don't.
Even though like when you buy a bike used from anywhere, it's as is. Sometimes you can get a bit of a warranty. Some states have laws like even on selling used bikes that you can't sell a lemon and you can return it in 30 days if it's like complete garbage.
Check your local laws in those cases.
Yeah, whatever. I think you're almost always a little bit better off going to a dealership. Craigslist is also full of a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah. I definitely, first thing I did when I bought my bike was took it to a shop.
Yeah.
So that it could get checked over. And they didn't find anything. I checked all the things they were going to check, but I'm not my day job is not a mechanic. So I know I got that insurance, and I had to budget for that insurance, which did take it a little bit more expensive.
You can pay mechanics to check out a motorcycle with you. If you do Craigslist or Auto Trader or Cycle Trader or whatever, I recommend you at least do that.
Yeah.
It would suck if you went and bought a motorcycle and you were super jazzed and found out that it does not work.
Yeah. Also, buy something new enough that you can continue to ride it instead of just work on it would be a suggestion. That's kind of here or there.
Yeah, buy that for your second bike.
Yeah. If you want something to work on,
make your project bike your second bike.
That being said, our fourth thing is talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, talk to everyone who rides. Everyone who rides.
But when you're talking to everyone who rides, do it with a large chunk of salt that you're throwing over your shoulder, because there are so many opinions.
Everybody's going to have an opinion. Like, for instance,
we have opinions.
Yeah.
Take them with a bucket of salt.
Yeah, because there are opinions.
There are opinions, not what is Bible,
Yeah, and what I like might not be what you like. What he likes isn't necessarily what I like. Our friend who's buying a motorcycle, it was kind of funny when I was like, yeah, just sit on a lot of bikes. She had some other friends who ride, and she was like, oh, my friend said to buy this bike. And I was like, he's this tall or shorter. He looks like this. This is what he does. And I described him to a T without even knowing his name.
Based on the things that he told our friend.
Yeah, that happened with two different people. She was like, he said I should buy a bike that's this, and this. And I'm like, he looks like this. He's this tall. He rides this. And I was right every time. Here's kind
of where his job is.
I was right every time on everything.
Yeah.
So unless you're an exact carbon copy of that guy, unless he's your twin and you like everything and dress the same and everything else, probably still go and
try a lot of bikes, and then once you kind of figure out where you're kind of aiming, say, I've sat on, a bunch of cruisers, I've sat on a bunch of sports bikes, I'm leaning a little bit more sports bike.
But really, you gotta, you might want a sport bike because it's super sexy, and I don't blame you for that. I think they're super sexy too.
Even a 250, man. I'm still counting that as a sport bike.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just talking about riding postures. So if you're in your head thinking about, I'm going to do a lot of long distance riding, you might want to maybe look at sport touring bikes instead, with a more comfortable riding position, with maybe some more comfort options to it,
or at least a bike that you can do a lot of those mods fairly easy on.
Yeah. I mean, it's, our one of our friends was talking to me about how he did this 500-mile ride on his sport bike and was just in so much trouble.
Yeah.
And he was so miserable, and he was like, yeah, my right arm would go numb, so I would have to lean across my tank and do my throttle with my left hand. And, you know, there's like it's very hard to straighten your legs out on a sport bike. And, you know, so really take a look at the type of riding that you're trying to do.
And that being said, I've had people who are like, I do long rides on my Vespa. And
well, size, body type,
yeah,
your own like situation with how good your knees are all going to play a part.
Totally.
You know, the shrimp can ride on a sport bike for more comfortable, a lot longer than me, because I've got a lot more this leg situation happening.
100% that.
You know, I can comfortably ride most leader sport bikes. It's just I'm not going to want to ride them for an hour.
Yeah,
you know?
And don't even try and get you on a 250.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I've ridden a 250 for, 300 miles double up because,
Yeah.
The other thing about talking to people is there are a ton of online forums, whether it's for the maker of the bike or the actual model. So my Bandit has a really good forum that I spent probably the first 6 months I owned that bike just trying to soak up all the knowledge there on things that I had no idea when I first got it, and I should have talked to him beforehand.
Yeah.
So once you kind of know where you're aiming, look and see what has a good online community that can help you with some of those questions if you don't have a shop or whatever your situation's on. There is a lot of stuff there you can go to.
Also, accept that the bike that you buy will not be able to do everything.
Totally.
You know, it is what it is. You know, like there are a lot of things I want to do on motorcycles that aren't really optimal to do with the motorcycle I currently own. Same with him. And it's just because there isn't a motorcycle that does everything like great. You know, like
it's always compromises. And
yeah.
And it comes down to just the way the physics
even
work
when you're
on
just
them.
doing two, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to get a bit of a compromise if you want a bike that can do two things. Like in a an ADV bike, even a light, small ADV bike, is not going to perform as well on the dirt as a real true dirt bike, and it's not going to perform as well on the road as a really true blue like touring bike.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is.
You're always making compromises there, and
yeah, it's just like the scissors on your Swiss Army knife aren't as good as an actual real pair of scissors.
You don't say. I am shocked.
It's just, but if you don't have a real pair of scissors,
it's real useful to have them.
Useful to
have. So there's our suggestions as far as number 4 goes. Talk to people. Number 5, on the other hand,
is going to be
watch. What? Huh? What?
Is going to be watch part 1 of Squishmoto's How to Motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a bit of a self-promotion, but really the next thing you should do is going to be a little bit more than, really what a top 5 list is capable of doing.
Yeah.
So we're trying to keep this video short, wet your whistle, and give you a few tips and all that stuff. And if you want to get more in depth into the things that you should do as you're learning how to motorcycle, we're creating a series that's based around that because we are your friends who ride motorcycles.
Yeah. And this is kind of the transition of, okay, I'm getting into motorcycling. I've done all these things. Now I own a bike. What's next?
Yeah.
And
a couple of things about that motorcycle purchase as well. There's a few other things in there.
So it's a lot more in depth on that. If this didn't get as much information as you want, always go ahead, ask us more questions down in the comments. We'd be more than glad to type out our knowledge to you.
Yeah, or at least ignore you.
No, Squeeze. No, we will not ignore the viewers. Bad Squeeze, no cookie. But getting a motorcycle is great. Like, that's a whole nother video that we've done. Just having
did a whole channel around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so watch our video, and we are more than happy to help you on your journey to becoming a real tried and true motorcyclist.
Yep. So if you want to see that entire series that we're coming out with,
make sure you hit subscribe, ring the bell, and that way you'll be notified when those videos come out so that you can continue your journey. Or you just might want to watch some of our other videos that are a little bit more lighthearted and fun or whatever. We would like to have you do the subscribing and the bell ringing.
The subscribing. Yeah. And also the visiting of our Facebook. And
also our Instagram, squish.moto, for both of those. And our website where you can buy cool baubles and trinkets and whatnot. That is squishmoto.com. We have all kinds of wonderful things.
Yeah. Always trying to work on more things there as well. Other than that, have yourself a wonderful day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. That was awkward AF.
You get busy, bee! Go get busy, bee!